Ukrainian troops entered Russia on the 6th of August. It's been over 2 weeks. Those troops are still inside Russia. But the developments that have happened since then, it begs the question, has Ukraine's invasion of Russia in the Kursk region been a suicide mission for the Ukrainian troops? Germany has said that they did not have any knowledge of Ukraine's Kursk plans, while the West is largely wondering what Ukraine plans to do next after Kursk. Where does it plan to go from here? Russia's defense ministry claims that Ukraine has lost nearly 4,400 troops in the hostilities so far, with over 300 armoured fighting vehicles and 65 tanks destroyed. Are Ukrainian troops sitting ducks inside Russia now? To discuss this further, we're being joined by KSENIA Kondratieva, who's a journalist and founder of Russia Wire, joining us from St. Petersburg. KSENIA, welcome to Game Plan. Thank you so much for having me. Ukraine has lost 4,400 troops and approximately 650 military assets, which includes tanks, armoured vehicles and artillery units in Kursk since August 6. Now, these are figures that have been released by the Russian Defense Ministry. Now, in the meantime, Russia has been securing its borders. How long can the Ukrainians sustain here?
That's a very relevant question. Despite the other question is relevant, how did that happen and how did Russia allow that to happen? And I think these questions are being asked within the Russian leadership and within the Russian society. But even though we don't have much insights on that, what is important is this incursion or this advance by Ukraine, despite it's unprecedented, we've not seen them doing this in 2.5 years of the conflict. Despite there was some raids of Ukrainian troops, small troops of 5 to 12 to 15 people in the Belgorod region previously. But of course, we've not seen thousands with columns with heavy US and NATO countries supplied weapons marching into the Russian territory. What is important here is that this in no way for now changes the situation on the battlefield, because if you see the front line is very long, it's thousands of kilometers. If you see the Donetsk area in the Donetsk People's Republic, if you see the front line there, Russians keep advancing as they were in the past, I believe, 3 or 4 months. They're actively advancing. They're taking one settlement after another. There is a settlement in New York that is called in Ukraine, and that has been just taken over last week. So I think on the ground, situation doesn't change much for Ukraine. How do we understand what and why they did what they did? And they are still there very much in the Russian territories. I believe, if we go by the statements, their recurring losses. See, Ukraine needs to fuel the conflict because it depends on Western support, both in terms of money and in terms of weaponry. Right, and if you analyze Mr. Zelensky's statements in the past 2 weeks, where he would say that Ukraine has gone on advance, so that he himself is saying that, so that Ukraine can get more weapons and funding. Whether Russia does not depend on anyone else's weapons and funding, it keeps fighting its war steadily. There have been always comparisons, how many square kilometers have Russian troops taken while they are advancing, and how many of square kilometers of land have Ukrainian troops just taken now in the past 2 weeks. These are very raw comparisons. You can't go by numbers. You have to see what's on the ground. You have to see whether this is a bare land or there are settlements, because Russian troops are not known to go and just bomb out all the settlements and advance, right? Because you've seen the Battle of Mariupol 2 years back, a huge city, and it could have been destroyed if Russia wanted so, but it went square meter by square meter because it was trying to save, first of all, the civilian population. Now, and just yesterday we saw the photos, a very disturbing footage of Russian citizens killed in those areas where Ukrainian troops advanced. So what I'm trying to say is that by taking a number of settlements and trying to be to establish your presence there, Ukraine does not change the situation on other parts of the
I hear
front
your
line
point.
where Russians are advanced.
I hear your point, Senia. Now, of course, a lot of what you said can be challenged from a Western perspective, given the kind of number of casualties that have been there in the Ukrainian side. But as of now, we were to just focus on what is happening right now inside Kursk and juxtapose that with what's happening inside Ukraine. Alexander Fedenko, who's a member of Ukraine's Verkhovna Rada, that's the parliament, he wrote on Telegram that we are having thousands of deserters who had abandoned their positions for a variety of reasons, but are ready to come back and fight. So even within Ukraine, Ukrainian troops are abandoning their positions, which is something a member of parliament is accepting. Whereas in Russia, they'll eventually run out of ammunition and manpower, because even if they are backed by other powers, how do they even get backup of manpower or ammunition? They can't fly them in, and by now Russia has guarded its borders, something it has been doing ever since the incursion. At this point, are the Ukrainians trapped inside Russia? Are they sitting ducks?
I think that's the case, and eventually, I think they will be driven out. Again, we don't know what's Russia's plans, because obviously Russia has not been very vocal about what it's doing, despite we have seen in the past 1 week, we have seen a lot of changes at the leadership, a lot of new commands. So there was clearly some kind of disturbed chain of command, and that's one of the reasons why possibly that has happened. So we don't know when Russia is and how Russia is planning to drive the Ukrainians out, or the plan is to actually let them stay and just eliminate them, which is, any of this is possible. But if the Ukrainian MPs are themselves stating, see, the mood in Ukraine has changed a year back, 2 years back, or even a year back. There was still the victorious mood. One of the reasons why Kyiv would go on an advance like this, which has no clear aim, which has no clear strategy, is that one, as I said, you need to keep Ukraine conflict in the headlines and try to portray it as Ukraine has, is advancing and has sort of seized the initiative. But the second, probably that was something to do with the morale in the Ukrainian society. Of course, 2.5 years into the war, people are tired of the war. There have been so many losses, both within the military and among the civilians. We don't hear what Ukrainians actually think. There are no polls and credible polls that we can trust, whether they really want peace negotiations, which Kiev so far denied, or whether they are still ready to go and fight. What we see, the forced mobilization that we see across Ukraine, those visuals that we get on social media of people being dragged into the vans, that clearly speaks that a lot of people, and maybe the majority of people, are not ready to fight anymore. They don't even understand what exactly they are fighting for.
KSENIA, as far as the Western backing is concerned, Germany distanced itself from Ukraine's decision to invade Kursk region, saying that it was not in the know, while the West wonders what Ukraine will do next. And that's a question that is being asked ever since August 6th. And I've been discussing this with voices from different parts of the world. Pretty much everyone was scratching their head. What was Ukraine thinking when it entered Russia? At this point, while their troops are still there and they are suffering nearly on an average, and these are the figures, again, I'm quoting Russian Defense Ministry here because there are differing accounts. If you look at Western media, they're going to be reporting it as a Ukrainian triumph inside Russia. If you look at Russian media, it's going to be quoting it as a Russian demolition of, the Ukrainian forces who are now trapped there. But if we were to just look at it on ground, if whatever you can give to us or share with us, what's next for Ukraine, whether on home turf or inside Russia?
Yeah, I'm so sorry we have a strong wind here.
Yeah.
Right. So I think this question remains valid. I think they will be driven out because there is no way. They have not been advancing. They have advanced for the first 2 days. They have captured certain settlements, but for some reason they have not been driven back. Again, I think there is. I've been covering this conflict for the past 2.5 years since the war began, and sometimes the Russia's strategy is so questionable because you just don't clearly see what it is doing exactly. But then eventually you come to understand, okay, that was the plan. So probably I'm not, it's just all assumptions on my behalf, and particularly I'm in St. Petersburg, which is far away from Kursk, which is far away from that particular place. And if I was there, I would probably be able to give you a better sense of, military tactics. But there are a lot of analysts to do that. I think we will see the reaction. What is important right now, I think, for Russia and actually for, the international community, the safety of 2 nuclear power plants. One is in Zaporozhye, which is another part of the front line. Last week, there was a drone attack, and that was the first and the worst attack. Yes. Not the first, but the worst attack on the plant. And another one is, of course, Kursk nuclear power plant that is functioning, unlike the Zaporozhye one that has been kind of in a frozen mode. But Kursk one is functioning. And I think right now the focus is just to establish all possible kind of protection for that side. Because if something goes wrong there, it's not just Russia and Ukraine, it's entire Europe that will suffer the consequences.
Absolutely.
So I think we should not just focus on the advance and whatever the, battle taking place between the troops, but on that, because you don't need Ukrainian troops within Russia to launch an attack on a nuclear power plant site. We've seen it. The drones have been flying up to Moscow. So definitely they're not flying from Ukrainian.
I hear your point.
Ukraine is a lot of, a lot of other tools to kind of launch this attack. So this is also a very important focus.
All right, I hear your point, Ksenia. That was Ksenia Kondratieva, journalist, founder of Russia Wire, joining us from St. Petersburg, giving us an understanding of the Russian side of things, which is seldom reported in the media. Thank you so much, Ksenia, for sharing your insights and joining us here on Game Plan.
Thank you so much.